Good morning. Okay, so we got three on. There, everybody else might need a moment. Okay, and while we're giving everybody a chance to log on, I'm going to look at the results of the two variable quiz that I sent out. Because we're going to start off with math. I just wanted to see if there was anything left over from slope. There's a couple of questions on there that I purposely put down that were things that we didn't cover, but things that I know will probably come up on the test. And I wanted to see how much prior knowledge we had on that. So that was my motivation behind setting that out. This one gives it very, very well. Okay. All right. So let's start off with that. So I'm going to look at some of the questions and we're going to talk. It was fun. Yeah. It's an interesting program to use. And it gives you your score instantly, lets you know what questions you missed, and then it gives me feedback. So I like to use that program. And then the other thing I like about it is that it saves the quiz, so I can have you take tests from other classes. Like I've had classes where five, six people have passed the test. Yeah, like maybe 10, 12. And other people have shown substantial growth. So the good thing about it is I can also use that to compare um, other things that were done before, right? So I can say, this is how you're comparing to other classes, and these classes have done really, really well. All right, so we got four people on. Let's see who we all have here. And looks like we're gaining a few more people. Please make sure to go on the website, log in for attendance, because tomorrow I'm going to be entering that into the system. So please make sure that you do that. Okay. So I'm actually going to start looking at some of the questions we missed there. And I'll probably end up um, ending this like around like 10:55 or so. I know yesterday we actually went over by a half hour, so I'm gonna try to give you guys some time back, and then tomorrow we should be able to go hardcore 9 to 12. So let's look at some of the most commonly missed questions. That's why this program is so amazing. Really? This is one of the most commonly missed, huh? Let's go by accuracy. Oh, okay. So the question that was the most commonly missed was number 15. And well, it shows up for me as number 15. It could have been the first question you got. So in fact, 60% of us, no, even more than that. So only, yeah, actually 80% of us got this wrong. Now you are going to see this question. You're going to see questions like this on the test. They're not going to be the most common. I'm actually going to paste this in the live chat so everybody can uh, look at the question I'm talking about. This is not going to be a lot, but this really is going to be used more for your understanding of the material. Like how comfortable are you with algebra? Can you read something in written form and then now create an equation out of it? It does apply more to the real world. You use it every single day when you have a bill and you're trying to figure out how much that bill really was, if you're being overcharged, etc. I'm actually gonna. This is the question I just posted in the live chat. All right, perfect. Love to see the fact that we got so many more people joining. I'm gonna share this with Miss Rose as well. You know, let me not do that. We'll just continue on. Okay. So the question is, write an equation. Uh, write an equation. 331 students went on a field trip. Six buses were filled and seven students traveled in cars. How many students were on each bus? Okay. So, first thing right out of the gate, we know that 331 students went on a field trip. So, that's going to be my equal. So, let's see if we had anybody not put that. Everybody, we had two people who said that it was going to be equaling 6x. So, what this shows is that we don't understand the way an algebraic equation is normally set up. When we're setting up an algebraic equation, normally what we want to do is have the equal sign and then a total. That's the normal way we're going to set up an equation from left to right, and the equal sign is going to be the total. So if you see a question like this on the high set task C GED, keep that in mind. If it's telling you that you're dealing with these many people, cars, boxes, etc., that has to be the equal sign. So it looks like I got that question tripped up half the people that were doing it. So that's the first thing. So right out the gate, D, which was 331 minus 7 equals 6x, that should have been eliminated. So now we're looking at A, B, and C, which was 6x plus 7, 13x equals 331, 7x plus 6. So let's go check that out and see if there's any questions. Any questions before I move on? Okay. All right. So six buses were filled and seven students traveled in cars. Okay. Six buses were filled, seven students traveled in cars. Okay. So we know for a fact we're going to have to add this together. We're trying to figure out how many people were on the bus. Well, if we don't know what the bus is, we know there's six of them. We don't know how many people were on the bus. We'd have to represent the unknown with an X, meaning the variable, meaning it's a placeholder. We don't know exactly how many people were on the bus. So, however many people were on the bus, right? There's six buses. We don't know how many people were there. We're going to add that to the seven students that traveled by cars. When we work this out, we would figure out what the missing number of what how many students were actually on the bus. Questions on that? Any questions on that so far? Oh, okay. So what I would like you to do now is actually to solve this. We're going to move on to two variable equations. Let's see how comfortable we are with one step variable equations. Go ahead and solve that. Okay. So I'd like you to go ahead and solve this and then send the answer in the live chat. You can send it to me as a text. Correct. Good. So what would the answer be? Good. All right. Still haven't heard from Danny with an answer. Haven't heard from LD with an answer. Haven't heard from Brandy yet. Oh, and I don't see Lillian on here. I don't know if anybody has. I'll send her a direct invite here again. And I also don't see anything from Coral. Okay. So let's go ahead and walk through this. I do see that some people say they're not sure. All right. So we always want to start off with what is known as the inverse operation, which means that we're going to try to do the opposite of what the problem has going on so we can get the variable by itself. All right. It's called the inverse, meaning the opposite. So, what is the opposite of adding 7? Subtracting 7. So if I subtract 7 from this side, now I got the 6x alone. I need to subtract 7 from the other side. So what is that going to leave me with? That's going to leave me with 6x equals 324. All right. So then from here, I still don't have the x by itself. So I have to find a way to get the x by itself. So I have to divide by 6. And if I do it on one side, I need to do it to the other side. That's going to leave me with x equals 54. Questions on that? Any questions? Okay. Looks like no questions so far. Everybody's good. Okay. So let's look at the next commonly missed question. So the next most commonly missed, what type of slope does the following graph have? Okay, and this one I'm also pretty surprised. Okay. So let me go ahead and replicate that here on the board. This one was not one of the ones I was throwing to see how much you guys knew about slope from before. This was not a test of your schema. Okay. So it's not going to be an exact replica, but it's going to give you an idea of what this question was. Okay. Now, this you will get a lot of questions about. Not exactly like what you saw on the test, where it's asking you what the if the slope is positive or negative, but questions similar to that will appear. What I mean by it is they're going to believe or assume that you know what a positive slope is, a negative slope, undefined, no slope. They're going to assume that you know that, and they're going to then present other questions on top of it. So this is going to be something that's going to be embedded in pretty much everything that we do. So the easiest way to identify slope is look at the directions that it goes, right? So you see, as we're coming down here and we're running to the right. So I'd always look at it to the right. And if from left to right it's going down, that's going to be a negative slope. If from left to right it's going up, that's going to be a positive slope, right? So if you look here, from left to right, it's going down. And actually, only one person got that right. Questions about slope. Good, good. Okay, no questions. Okay, so left to right is how you want to look at it. So when I'm looking at this, remember that rise over run is a slope. Rise over run in slope intercept form, right? So this right here is rise over run. This right here is the y-intercept, where on the y it crosses. So this tells me how to go up, and this tells me which way to go. I always want to go to the right. So when I'm looking at this line, I'm looking at it from left to right because I always want to go to the right. So if from left to right, it's going downwards, notice how I use my arm, then I know it's going to be a negative slope. If from left to right, it's going up, then I know it's going to be a positive slope. So that's what the left to right helps me. It helps me understand how to look at the information, how to read it. Questions on that? No problem. Okay. Let's see. What? Okay, so half of us got this wrong. Okay. So the question is, what is the y-intercept in the equation? What is the y-intercept? Oh, okay. I see where we were fooled. Okay. I see exactly what happened. Okay. So I'm going to post that in the live chat. Now, a lot of us just thought it was a 4. Okay. And that's where the mistake was. But we have to pay attention to whatever sign is in front of the whole number. So this subtraction sign means that it's a -4. It's not just a 4, it's -4. And that's why the answer of the y-intercept would be -4, right? I use as many colors as I can. This is your slope. This is your y-intercept. Oh, I don't know. Put that a y there. Y-intercept. So that I think was a simple um, error. So just understand that whatever sign is in front of the y-intercept, that's going to let you know whether it's positive or negative. Questions about that? Okay, moving on. Okay, now this one I thought would have been a little easier. No, you don't have to solve it. So what it's asking you, what it wants to see in that last problem that I had on the board is if you understand what every part of slope intercept form is. If you understand what the slope is, right? So I'm just going to put up another problem. So it's asking you, do you understand what the slope is? Do you understand what the y-intercept is? It's asking you to identify everything. We don't have to solve it in this situation. It's already in slope intercept form. We're fine. It just wants to see if we understand the value or what each part of the slope intercept form represents. Correct. You will get some questions just like that. Hey, what is the slope? You'll get a few. But it's important for you to understand it because remember, they may not give it to us like this, and we may have to switch things around, move it across the equal sign to ensure that it's in slope intercept form. Okay. And the next question that I saw, another one that I thought would have been a shoe in that you will either get it as a straight up question or it's going to be embedded in another question. Okay. So first off, we know it's a positive slope, and it's crossing over the y-intercept is crossing over at 3, and this one's crossing over at 1. Okay, so I need to put it in slope-intercept form, right? So the first thing I need to look at is my rise over my run. Okay, now here you would actually have to count it on the actual graph. And if you looked at where it crossed from one point to the other, you would see that it would be 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Now this one, again, I can understand that it might be a little hard because I don't have the exact graph here, but you have to count from where it crosses the 3. You're going to count to see when it hits the line again, right? So here's a y-intercept. So I need to count to see where does it hit again. That is my slope, but it has to be an exact point, not where the line kind of hits. It needs to be where 2 points meet exactly. So I could go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1 over. Now, again, my line is not perfect, but if I look at where the line hits again, that's my rise over run, which here would be 4, 4x. You go up 4 times, you run once. That's going to put you on the line. That would be easier for you guys to do, given the fact that on the question it gave you the actual graph. Now, the y-intercept, where it crosses the y-axis, that was 3. So that should have been a given. And it's a positive 3. So for the test, that'd probably be the first thing I would look at. What is the y-intercept? All of them have it as 3. So that's a tool you would normally have. But in this case, it wouldn't have helped out too much because they all say 3. But one of the other things you could have done is look at the slope. Is this slope positive or negative? Go ahead and let me know in the live chat. Is it positive or is it negative? The slope in this problem, positive or negative? Go ahead and send me a message in the live chat. I saw LD answer. I'm still waiting for the people, Ruth, Danny. Okay. All right. Correct. It's positive. So when you're looking at the multiple choice options, here's another way when you're testing, you can eliminate some of those other answers. So I know that they all have the y-intercept in the right place, but any one of them that says that has a negative slope, I can eliminate. That would get rid of at least 2 possible answers, right? So if this is one possible answer, I could already get rid of these. I could get rid of D. I know that D has a negative slope. This does not have a negative slope. And I can get rid of A. So I should really be down between B and C. Right? So again, just a couple of quick hits there. All right. Now this one, half of us missed, but it's fair in that we didn't actually talk about this. I just wanted to see how much knowledge we had on it. All right. Anytime that we have a graph here and we have a line, anytime that there's no real slope when it's going straight across, this is going to be known as an undefined line. I just want you to, this is one of the few times, again, I'm going to ask you to memorize that. That's undefined. And there's another one here. So there's going to be undefined. There's another question that's going to have it going across the x-axis, and that should be a slope of 0. Let's see how we did on that. Okay. Undefined zero slope. Okay. So we'll go ahead and leave that there. I do want to move on to the two-step equation. So when you see that there's no real slope, it's just going straight across. Let's leave that as undefined. Okay. Let's move on to some two-step equations. I know we've been working on our two variable equations. Mm, mm, mm. Sorry, I'm trying to get practice problems straight from Khan because I think it's going to be easier for everybody to follow along with. All right. So let's look at this. 4x plus y equals 10. Now, I noticed that when I made these different colors, it was a little easier to understand that we need to get rid of them. So let's go ahead and do that. And I know that this is not our first time actually doing this. I sent out a link for Khan Academy before, and most of you started working on those practice problems. So what would be my first step? I have 4x plus y equals 10. What's my first step? And actually, you know what? Let's replicate this here. And they're letting us know this is missing, and this one's -6. Remember, we learned about these ordered pairs. Ooh, okay. Subtract 10 from both sides. Okay, we could do that. Now, in this problem, they actually gave us what the y is, right? The x and the y. They're saying the y is -6. So let's try that. Now it turns into a one-step equation. So now they gave us the y. What would be my first step now? So we give you 4x equals 16. What's my next step? So this next one's going to be a little harder. Okay, do not get intimidated. Look at it as a language. Okay. Go ahead and solve that. There's the question. That's okay. I get it. My kids are going to be here tomorrow. I understand. All right. So what is the answer? Yeah. So we might be stuck. Okay. So let's go ahead. This will be the last one that we solve together. Then I'm going to send you a link and I'll see if I can come back and do another live stream if there's more questions. Again, I felt bad. We went over yesterday. Okay. So we know that x equals -5. So we're going to say everywhere you see x is -5. So we're going to rewrite this. It's -3 times -5 plus 7y equals 5 times -3 plus 2y. All I did, I'm sorry, -5. All right. All I did was put x where the x is. All I did was put in -5. Remember, the letters represent the unknown. Well, they're telling us it's -5 and something else. So everywhere we see x, we need to put in that is -5. Okay, you know that because of this, the ordered pair. Remember how we talked about graphing on the coordinate plane and how this represented the x axis and the y axis? Where the x is, that's what the value of the x is. And they're telling us it's negative 5. That's how we know it's negative 5. They gave it to us. Now we need to figure out what y is. So how do we do that? By plugging it back into the equation. All right. So negative 3 times negative 5, 5 times negative 5. Let's just start off there. So that's 15 plus 7y equals negative 25 plus 2y. Does everybody understand how we got there? Let me know in the live chat. Go. So, what are we going to do now? We need to start combining everything. We need to get the y by itself. So, if we're subtracting here, we can add over there. So, let's get rid of that. Add 25. So, 15 plus 25, that would give me 40. Plus 7y equals 2y. So, questions here. Okay. So, I need to get the y by itself. So, it's a positive y here. Let's go ahead and subtract. All right. Subtract 2y here. And now I'm left with 5y pretty much and 40. Right? So 5y equals 40. And actually, so if for 40 equals 5y, what am I going to do now? Actually, you know what? Let's make this a little easier. Let's bring the 7 across. Minus 7y. That's 40. 40 equals. Now, I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to subtract 7y. What's 2y subtracted by 7y? Yep, that's negative 5y. So now we're going to divide by negative 5 on both sides. And y equals negative 8. Okay. All right. So I'm going to send out a link here shortly for you guys to be able to do some more practice problems on these. I don't see any questions so far. Perfect. All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and send out a link, and I'm gonna check back with you guys in a moment, and we'll do another live stream. If you have any questions, go ahead and reach out to me on the cell phone, email, text, anything like that. And we're gonna come right back to this. I'll check back again at 12 with everyone. Thank you.